That's Cherylyn Harley LeBon. Hey, Cherylyn, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Did you miss that great introduction that I gave you?
I did. No
Oh,
worries, though. No
wow.
worries.
I
I
had,
know it was great because you're wonderful, and I appreciate it.
I did. I got Becky in the studio with me. She says hello.
Oh, hi, Becky. How are you?
Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about first of all is we're both members of Project 21, which is a African American think tank kind of organization where we write articles that get printed in magazines, and we go on national TV and radio and talk about it. And you are a co-chair of the organization. Talk a little bit about Project 21 before we go into our other subjects.
So Project 21 was founded many years ago. I'll say that. I think it's been about 15 years ago, 15 or 20. And really, it was formed to provide a forum for an alternative point of view, right? Because when people think of blacks in politics, it seems to always be, or it was the case many years ago, that they always seem to be Democratic or voted for Democrats or were Democrats as an elected officials, or one would say they supported more Democratic type of ideas. And so it was just very important to be able to provide another perspective and to hear alternative voices. And this is really how Project 21 was founded, why it was founded, and why it has grown so much over the years. I'm going to also say, with the development of technology and online forums and social media, we are finding that there are many more diverse voices of color, Latino, Asian, Black, of course, Muslim as well. Really just a lot of alternative voices out there that have really come to bear and have become more visible with the growth of social media and technology. And I think that's all a very good thing, Chris.
I do, too. Now, what I wanted to get into, since you used to be a senior counsel on the Judiciary Committee, and Jeff Sessions is going to be up for nomination, hearings, all that good stuff.
Yep.
And the research...
It's starting the second week.
Second week. I think the three nominees that are going to have the most fireworks are going to be Jeff Sessions, Scott Pruitt, and Tillerson. Those are the three that I am really looking forward to their hearings. As I've been researching this, it looks like the Democrats are going to use three prongs of attack against Jeff Sessions. One is the Violence Against Women Act that he has voted against. One of it is he's against civil asset forfeiture. And the other one, of course, being black, we know it's civil rights. And let me read you a quote from Senator Patty Murray talking about the Women Against Violence Act. She says, "I have seen him vote against the Violence Against Women Act, and we need to do everything we can to fight for an attorney general who is truly committed to standing up for and protecting the rights of everyone in this country. Given Sessions' record, it is difficult to see how he could pass this most basic, most essential test." What's your thoughts on that as a woman, Cherylyn?
Okay, so let me give your listeners just a little bit of backdrop on how the left operates. And I'm giving you my perspective as being former senior counsel on Senate Judiciary Committee and working on nominations. Okay. And this is going to be something you see, Chris, for all of them, right? Mm-hmm. Now, there are some, Tillerson will be an exception, the other private sector nominees, because they don't have that public record. But for someone like Jeff Sessions, we're talking almost 20 years of congressional records and things that the left will go through. And you better believe they are pouring through these types of things, right? So what they'll do is pull out exactly the example you gave. They'll pull out sound bites, right? And there may be, I'm sure, very good reasons why Jeff Sessions did not vote for the Violence Against Women Act, because as people may not know, that's a pretty big bill.
Mm-hmm. $1.6 billion.
And it has a lot of pork in it, right? And
Exactly.
It's got lots of things that people aren't going to like. So Jeff Sessions may have very good reasons for not voting for that bill, And it may have something to do with Alabama. It may have something to do with some very strong beliefs he has. But the left isn't going to give you that. They're only going to give you that soundbite, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, this is just one example. These are going to be many examples that you're going to see for Pruitt, for Tillerson, for Betsy DeVos, for all of them. And what our side needs to understand is that the left is loaded and ready for bear, plain and simple. We've just finished a very contentious presidential election. Some think that Hillary still has actually won the election. So already we start this process very contentious, and for a good part of the population who feel that Donald Trump should not be president, and in fact they are working towards ways to delegitimize him. And the extension of trying to prohibit any of his nominees from getting through, again, it's just another extension of how they feel about him. I do think, for the most part, your top-tier agencies are going to be the ones where you're going to see the most resistance. Mm-hmm. So that's DOJ, that's going to be Mattis, that's going to be Kelly, and then that's going to be Tillerson, of course. So those top four. But let's not forget where many of the environmental activists live. They live at EPA. They are ready to stop Pruitt in any way possible. So it's going to be a very busy couple months here. And the other thing that people, I think, need to be prepared for is that, particularly, again, those who've not been in government and maybe private sector, this will be the first time that they've really been scrutinized, and it's not a very pleasant process. Mm-hmm. It's just not. And I think people need to be prepared for a few winces, and you know what I mean by winces. Right. There's going to be some things said about some of the nominees that are going to make people uncomfortable, that they're not going to like, and they will, in fact, wince. But all I can say to people, having lived through this and worked many years doing this is a process. Mm-hmm. You have to be prepared for it. You really need to have thick skin, and it's not designed to be particularly pleasant.
How much do you think, Jeff Sessions has been a senator for 20 years. He serves on the Judiciary Committee. Are they, I know the Democrats are going to be out for him, but do you think he's going to maybe receive a little easier time because those are his colleagues?
You mean the Democratic colleagues?
Yes. Will they cut him a little bit of slack?
I don't think so. Let's just take it back to the Bush administration. John Ashcroft was also a senator.
That's true.
These were also his colleagues. And guess how many days of brutal hearings he received? 4.
Right. Getting back to this Women Against Violence Act, and you were dead on when you were talking about the money. What I'm reading here, the price tag of the act is $1.5 billion over 5 years.
Huge.
Yeah, and it says first, the money increases bureaucracy and law enforcement without actually reaching women and men in need. For example, housing, a persistent need for victims, receives only 1/5 of the funding law enforcement action receives. And then what they're recommending, if this legislation was block granted directly to the states, then law enforcement or social services could be more precisely allocated. It just, like I said, it sounds like it's just a pork bill with a very good, a politically correct name on it.
And there's a lot thrown in it. I mean, when you actually peel back the layers of that onion, there's a lot of stuff in that. I mean, that's rape crisis center money for the entire country. I mean, it's campus money for anti-rape initiatives throughout the country. I mean, there's a lot in it. And again, there's a lot for some members to love. There's a lot for some members not to dislike. But again, Chris, that is just one aspect of his congressional record that will be examined. I got to tell you, they've got pages and pages and lists of things that they will fire, they will just fire on all cylinders. It's I think you need to be in for a long ride here. And it may not be a pleasant ride.
Do you still have any friends on the committee or colleagues?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure, plenty.
So I'll be talking to you, trying to get the inside.
They are working very hard to prepare for his nomination hearing, and as well as the other positions that will be at DOJ, also requiring Senate confirmation. And there are many, Chris. There are many.
Cherylyn,
Jeff Sessions is just the beginning.
Hey, where can our listeners, because like I read your bio that you're on TV, Fox, and MSNBC, and doing radio, where can our listeners get listen to you or read some of your stuff?
Right. Your listeners can follow me on Twitter at Harley, Harley LeBon, LeBon, and also on Facebook, Cherylyn Harley LeBon, and my website, harleylebon.com.
Thank you, my friend. Happy New Year. It's always good talking to you.
Happy New Year.
And we got to catch up, and either you come to St. Louis or I get to D.C.
Would love to. Hope to see you here for inauguration.
Hopefully. Maybe. Thank you, Cherylyn.
All righty.
Have a good weekend. Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Cherylyn Harley LeBon giving us a little insight on what's coming up with the judiciary hearings.